Hey guys, it's MonatoBoy83, and today I'm going to be talking about a game that I beat a few months ago, but since I've had a running theme of talking about indie games recently, I wanted to close out this indie trilogy by talking about one of, if not my favorite indie games of all time, Furi. And to go along with Furi's tense, heart-pounding gameplay, yeah, that's right, I'm standing up this time, which admittedly doesn't really add anything to the review, but that's besides the point. Anyway, there's not really a whole lot to set up here. Furi is an action game released by a French studio called the Game Bakers back in 2016. And with that out of the way, let's... Whoa there! What even is this game? Who the heck are you? Who, me? Oh, I'm just a cool gamer dude. Check out my backwards hat, yo. See, I don't necessarily think that makes you cool, but that's what the review is for. So anyway, let's talk about... Stop, man! Where did you even find this game? I've never heard of Furi before. Well, it's actually a funny story. This is Furi, a game about fighting bosses, and that's pretty much it. This is a boss rush game where you fight through a series of bosses with the only thing separating each fight is a walking sequence to the next arena. Furi is the only boss rush game I've ever played, and I actually first heard about it from another YouTuber's review. Video Game Donkey, one of my favorite creators on this site, put this title in his top 10 games of 2017 video, and as soon as I heard the soundtrack and saw the exhilarating gameplay, I immediately wanted to play it. But at the time I didn't really buy indie games, so I put it on my Steam wishlist waiting for it to go on sale, which it did numerous times, though I never picked it up. Fortunately though, Furi was a free title on Twitch Prime for March of this year, and as soon as I got it, I immediately installed it and started playing, and I loved it. Huh, so you think you can get people to play the game the same way someone got you to play? I don't see why not. My guy, you're filming this on an iPhone and you have like no subscribers. Who's gonna listen to you? Alright, that's it. Get out of here! Now let's talk about the game. Yeah! Also spoilers. Yeah. Normally in my reviews I start off with the story, but I'm not going to discuss the story in depth. The basic premise is you play as the Stranger, who's locked up in this multi-level floating island sky jail thing, where you're endlessly tortured by a jailer named the Chain, who has 3 masks on his head, because one is evidently not enough. Very quickly after we learn this, a mysterious man with a weird-looking rabbit hat named The Voice sets you free and tells the Stranger to break out, saying, "The jailer is the key, kill him and you'll be free." And from there, the game starts. Over the course of the game, you learn a lot of the lore about why everything is the way that it is, and what led up to the Stranger getting in prison. The story isn't profound or a selling point for the game, but learning about everything along the way is a part of the experience, and I don't really want to take that away, so that's really it for story. Furi's narrative is pretty straightforward, and although it's presented in a way where you have to piece all the events together, it's simple to understand, and that's how the game plays as well. Similarly to another neon-infused indie game I recently talked about, Furi gives you a limited toolset consisting of a dash, a sword, and a laser gun. And aside from a parry, that's it. You're not going to unlock any new weapons or abilities along the way, and everything you need to know to succeed is taught to you in the first boss fight against the Chain. This makes the game easy to learn, but brutally challenging to master, and extremely fun all at the same time. Your playthrough is going to consist of you fighting your way through 9 jailers to escape this levitating prison and reach the surface for a final confrontation, which I'm not going to talk about at all for spoiler reasons. Each boss is extremely unique, but each fight follows a similar format. In this game, each boss's health bar is divided into segments that splits the fight up into phases. Every new segment changes up the fight in some way, whether it's adding a few new moves to the boss's repertoire or dramatically changing the course of the fight, all culminating in a final desperation phase where the boss pulls out all the stops and your skills are really put to the test. Depleting a segment of the health bar is further divided into 2 stages, a bullet hell phase where the gameplay is kind of like a twin-stick shooter that focuses on gunplay, and a close quarters sword fighting phase. Your own health bar is also segmented, but unlike your foes, you don't get 2 phases, and once your 3 bars are up, you have to start the fight over. Fortunately, there's a really cool mechanic that lets you stay in the heat of battle a little bit longer. If your opponent kills you, they heal all of the health of that segment up, and you have to start that phase over. However, every time you win a phase, you heal back 1 segment of your own health, so if you mess up the first time around and beat that phase on your next try, then you'll be back to full health. There were plenty of times in my first playthrough where I'd lose a phase right as the boss was about to go down, leaving me furious, but then I'd get it right after that and put myself right back to full health so I had some room to figure out how to beat the next phase. Or I'd lose 2 more times and start over completely, but no matter matter what happened, I kept going, and eventually I prevailed. Man, that hurt. Why'd you have to shoot me, man? Why are you still alive? It's the second phase of our encounter. Is this really the best you could come up with? This is terrible writing. Cut me some slack, dude. I don't normally do this. Uh-huh. Sure, buddy. Well, this is the second phase, and I guess I'll have to remove you from this segment with a sword. Do you really have to do that? Ooh! Now that I've talked about the structure of the boss fights, let's talk about the fun part, fighting the bosses. Like I mentioned earlier, your moveset is small, but it's more than serviceable. The dash is your primary movement tool, and it's crucial to dodging the onslaught of laser bullets coming your way. Your laser gun fires a steady stream of bullets wherever you point the barrel, and your sword hits can be chained together into a combo that knocks down your opponent. Every move you have can be charged to do something else, like a dash that breaks your opponent's guard and lets you take a free hit with a cool animation unique to each boss, a big laser bullet for the gun that does extra damage, and in CQC you can charge up your next hit to do extra damage, but you'll lose the charge if you get hit. Finally, and probably most importantly, you have a parry move. When your opponent's attack animation flashes white, press the parry button to block the attack and heal back some health. And if you time your parry just right, you can do that cool guard break animation thing again. Parrying is crucial to survival, and fortunately, if you press the button right when you get the visual and audio cue, it's going to work. Although sometimes it can still be hard to pull off. Combat in this game is super fast, and you have to constantly be moving around, because these bosses are relentless. While every boss has different attacks and patterns, you best believe they're going to flood the screen with bullets and laser waves, then rush at you with barrages of melee attacks whenever they get the chance. Every once in a while, you'll get a boss or a fight in a game that's super intense and gives you a rush of relief when it's over. Well, that happened to me almost every single fight in Furi, and it was awesome. Alright, I've talked a lot about how the fights are set up and how you can approach them, but I haven't actually talked about the fights themselves. I definitely like some boss fights over others, but each one is wholly unique and leaves quite an impression. Like I said, I won't be talking about the final boss because that's a spoiler, but none of the other bosses are spoilers, so I'm going to quickly touch on all of them. First up is the Chain, and he's pretty easy, but does challenge you enough. He basically prepares you for what's to come and kind of gives you a general idea of how the fights are going to go from here. Next we have the Strap, which puts you in a drastically bigger arena and has you dodging some real big lasers. This fight is cool because as the fight goes on, the Strap breaks off more of her shackles and her movement options change up a lot, adding a scythe at one point and then putting her on all fours running at you with blinding speed. Definitely harder than the Chain, but still manageable. Then we have the Line, which for me was a massive difficulty spike. He's a time-based boss and likes reflecting stuff back at you, so in some parts you'll have to break these pillars by shooting them, but they also reflect all your bullets back at you, so you'll be stuck in an ocean of bullets you created. Other times he'll freeze time, which makes your bullets stop in midair so you can only use your sword, and his melee attacks have weird delayed animations that can oftentimes trick you into parrying at the wrong time. I struggled so much on this boss in my first playthrough, and when I beat it I was so relieved, but it does take some mercy by showing you that sometimes bosses don't have a CQC phase with the segment. Following that is the Scale, who has poison bullets and likes diving underwater for surprise attacks. The poison effect is really cool, making your screen all messed up, but subsides quickly enough. Not too hard, but if you get hit by a lot of poison, you can quickly get overwhelmed. Then we have one of the cooler fights with the Hand, who has a shield that makes your bullets reflect back at you for extra damage, making this mostly a sword fight. This one heavily focuses on guard breaking, and it is definitely on the harder side, but I felt so good about beating this one for the first time, and it definitely is one of the best fights in the game. After that, we've got the Song, who flies off stage for most of the fight, leaving you to shoot a lot, but sometimes she'll go for this dive attack, and perfect parrying that is such a cool feeling. Again, not too difficult, but then again, not too difficult in this game still means you're probably going to get a game over or two. Following the Song is the Burst, who's like a sniper assassin who really enjoys going invisible a lot. This fight gets really tough, having to dodge sniper blasts that insta-kill you unless you're behind a wall, and parrying invisible attacks, which still gives you an indicator, but it is much harder to do than if you could see her clearly. Her desperation phase is incredibly challenging and very unforgiving, but it's very rewarding and memorable at the same time. Next up is the Edge, which is a CQC only fight, but is extremely difficult and expects the best from your parry skills. Playing the game again to record footage, I beat every boss very easily, except for this one, which took about an hour to beat because of how much precision is required. He hits hard and fast, and you have to be faster to succeed. Finally, again not counting the final boss, we have the Beat, who's the easiest boss in the game, which is kind of odd but makes sense story-wise. This is just a chase sequence where you have to dodge a lot of bullets and lasers while dashing across platforms, but it's not a challenge at all. I could go more in depth on each boss and look further into the gameplay, but honestly you should really just play the game for yourself, and if I haven't sold you on it already, there's probably not too much more I could say that would get you interested. Now normally I save my problems with the game for the end of the review, but I only really had one, so I'll say it here, and that's sometimes the laser waves were way too difficult to dodge. Before I move on though, there are a few difficulty options in this game, including an easy mode, a normal mode which I played on, and a super hard difficulty called Furi mode, which revamps every boss's moveset, makes them completely new. And it's also so difficult that I couldn't even beat the chain on this difficulty, so you know it's hard. There's also a speedrun mode which removes all the walking segments and times you, and a practice mode which lets you practice different fights at different difficulties. Now with that out of the way, let's move on to art and music.
As you can see from the footage, this game is very stylish. It's got a lot of neon and cool lighting effects, great environments, interesting character designs, and super sick animations. The characters were actually designed by Takashi Okazaki, who made Afro Samurai, and he did a really good job here. I love the stranger's outfit, and his hair has a really distinct look to it that I really liked. I do feel like the character models could have been polished up a little bit more, but it works, and aside from cutscenes, you can't really see the fine details anyway because of how fast everything is. The highlight here is definitely the animations though. They're super flashy and look straight out of an anime, and I love it. They just make you feel really powerful and add to the experience. My only complaint is sometimes all the different colored bullets and laser waves were just too much neon on the screen, but it certainly makes you aware of the danger.
Hey, one more question. Why aren't you still here? Yeah, don't worry about it. But seriously though, why did you actively want to play this game for 2 years? That sounds like a long time to remember something that you probably weren't going to buy for yourself. That's a good point, and I have a good answer. That's because the game's soundtrack is an absolute banger, and I listened to it a lot over those 2 years. You listen to game soundtracks? Man, you're a bigger weeb than I thought you were. Alright, looks like I'm gonna have to go bring out the big guns. No, I'm going, bye.
Okay, if you've been following my reviews, you know I like a good soundtrack, and I'm quick to recommend a good game soundtrack. Obviously, game music isn't for everyone, otherwise everybody would listen to it, but believe me, Furi's soundtrack is crazy good, because not only does it sound good, but it hypes you up so much that you're ready to throw yourself at a boss over and over again until you win. I don't love every track on this album, but they add so much to the fights and truly create something memorable, which happens to also be the Edge's boss theme. The electro beats just fill you with a drive to win, and it pairs perfectly with the flashy visuals and constant momentum. Not only that, but the tracks change depending on the phase, and the walking portion of each track builds anticipation for the main theme and gets you ready for the fight ahead. The game's official album has trimmed down versions of the track that act more like real songs, but there are full arrangement versions on YouTube if you're looking for them. I know I say this a lot, but you have to listen to at least some of this album, and for that I recommend You Are the End and A Monster by Wave Shaper, 624 by Danger, and What We Fight For, and the sickest song in the game, You're Mine by Carpenter Brute. If there was ever a soundtrack to fit this game, it's this one. It takes the entire experience up a level and has left a strong and lasting impression on me.
Furi is just awesome. It's a really well-made game, and you can clearly see the passion the developers put into creating this experience. I have almost no issues with the game at all, and it offers a lot of bang for your buck. If you want to play Furi for yourself, it's available on all major consoles and PC, though I do recommend a controller for the latter. The game maker's next project, Haven, looks nothing like Furi, but it's definitely caught my eye, and the developers have already proven themselves to me with this title, so I'm really looking forward to Haven's release. I really do hope you guys play Furi for yourself, and I hope you enjoyed this review. That's all for me, and see you all in the next one. Alright, that's it. I am done taking your crap. You are going down. What are you doing? The video's over. Oh, I guess I'll get you in the next one? Yeah, I don't know about that, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.